You know what you would really enjoy is if there was a giant Gene Simmons just staring at you while you were riding the coaster. That might settle your stomach.
Theme parks have that like kind of Space Needle where you can go to the top and see like or like what if you turn like a big Ferris wheel? That would be all right.
There's an elevator all the way to the top of Gene's samurai haircut that you can just kind of hang out up there.
You can rest your head on my giant side ass.
Yeah, that I would love. I'm not afraid of heights. It's the drop that bothers me. So yeah, no, I'm totally down with
Ride
that.
the flicking tongue.
Okay. Now you've gone too far.
My apologies to Gina, women in general, the concept of femininity.
Can you edit that out somehow? Of my brain?
Nope. I'm afraid everything goes from here to a little bird who engraves it in a stone tablet.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, rock and roll time is here. That's right. We're talking about Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. I'm not fucking with you. On Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from Magic Mountain. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. Oh my God. And we got one for you today as we unpack all the glorious details of Kiss Meet the Phantom of the Park in the hopes that a theme park cop's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust with my secret talisman, the one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
Are you addressing me, demon?
Anthony Zerbe is going ham in this particular
Oh, he's
role.
having the time of his life. God bless.
There are only two people who were having a better time, and that was Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, who spent the majority of the film in their trailer having sex with groupies and doing cocaine. And then when they showed up to set, it didn't matter if they talked well because their voices were dubbed anyways by cartoon people, because this was made by cartoon people. But we will get to that, Gina. I don't want to scare you because we are not alone. That's right. We have special guests. Now, you may know them from their podcast Inside the Idiot Box. And now, of course, they are returning champions here to Kill by Kill. The ones, the onlys, Dennis Satterfield and Scott Burklin. How are you doing today, gentlemen?
Hey, hello. How's it going?
Everybody? How you doing?
Hi.
Oh, so much better that both of you are back with us. And of course, if we were ever going to cover Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, which I doubt anyone had on their bingo card for this particular podcast, of course, I would have you two on to help me and Gina figure this out. Scott, what is your history with Kiss Meet the Phantom of the Park?
My history, if you will.
Yes, if you will.
So I cannot say that I was a part of the Kiss army. I had Kiss bone spurs, so I didn't quite make it in. Sure. No, I would have been 7 3/4 ish at the time that this came out, and did not really know the music beyond the radio hits, but loved the idea of Kiss. It was like everything I was into. It was, sort of monster movie stuff and magic in the live stage show. So I was really in love with the idea of like them and Alice Cooper. And my memories of this from when I was 7 3/4 was being insanely bored and probably falling asleep before Kiss even makes it on screen beyond the opening credits.
Right. And what an opening credits they were.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you got to let people know you just opened Colossus somehow, right?
Truly. Well, and so much has evolved since Magic Mountain had been featured in the 1977 film Roller Coaster.
Yes, Universal Classic.
which George Segal wanders around the entire film with a straw hat on his head. And multiple women are like, I gotta get some of that in bed. And this was thought of as a movie. But of course, that film, the musical presence there is Sparks, a band that has gone away and has never been heard from since. Whereas Kiss, they're forever. How about you, Dennis? What was your history here?
Well, I'm like 5 or 6 years younger than Scott, so this scared the shit out of me when I was a child.
Hopefully for the right reasons.
No, I remember. Well, so I, at some point I saw this movie. I don't know. I would have been like 2 or something like that when it came out in 1978. So I think I must have seen it later on, and it left a really big impression on me because I didn't remember anything about this film, if you want to call it a film, whatever this thing was that we saw, these moving pictures. Yeah, I mean, I remember Kiss honestly like freaking me out when I was a kid. There was, we lived in Las Vegas around the time when Kiss first came into my memory. And we would go to Circus every once in a while. They had the Midway and they had like clowns walking around and there's face painting. And yeah, they had some people dressed up like Kiss walking around. And it was frightening and traumatizing. So that's what I take away from Kiss.
You rarely see a 30-year-old man's upper thigh that much.
Oh, man, so. There is so much side butt action happening in this.
It was all the rage in 78.
A lot of side butt, a lot of nipples, a lot of chest hair.
A lot of chest hair.
There's a historical component to this as well that I did not figure out until being asked to rewatch this again, which is I went back and looked at the history. This was a mere month before the Star Wars holiday special.
Oh,
so
man.
This was like a 1-2 punch of destroying childhoods everywhere.
Yes.
This is when TV could take what you loved and just spit on it. And right in front of you while you were in a living room, you're like, but I liked this. Not anymore, kid.
That's right. You know what you can do with your iron-on T-shirt.
Gina, what about you?
Well, it's funny. You mentioned Roller Coaster, and which came out roughly around the same time. And I would have been about 6 or thereabouts when the Kiss movie came out. And I realized when I'm thinking back on when I saw it, I'm conflating the two. Because I feel like I remembered a lot more shenanigans involving the rides being interfered with. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's another movie. But I'm sure that I did see this at some point as a child. But boy, like there's a lot of this was like watching with brand new eyes.
I mean, strangely enough, just had zero awareness of Kiss. I did not see this when it came out.
Well, you were a Mormon. I don't think Mormon parents were letting their children join the Knights in Satan service.
But they would let me watch anything else on NBC. I mean, I watched Chips religiously. This was in the Chips time slot for whatever reason, and so. It's strange that I didn't, but I vividly remember my Star Wars holiday special experience. I think I've said it before, where I was at a friend named David's house, and he had a very Mormon family. They just had an endless parade of children, and the entire house smelled of diapers and spoiled milk. And then we watched the holiday special in their downstairs den, and the entire evening, I just every part of my enjoyment of Star Wars melted away. I had to confront Harvey Korman pouring liquids into his head.
I feel like if the Star Wars holiday special had a smell, it's probably diapers and spoiled milk.
And so I had zero. I did not catch this. And I don't think I had seen it until maybe at some point in my I'm willing to watch any bad movie phase of working at video stores. this had been put out on video at one point, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I need to see this, and probably fell asleep because I don't remember any part of the back half of it, and I distinctly remembered a lot of the front half. So I think I just dozed.
So when you saw it the first time, did you know the band at that point? Like, were you aware of their music and
I was at least aware of, you know, rock and roll all night and party every day. I'd probably heard Beth, you know, I'd heard the bigger hits, but to me, at that point, they were already a band who had taken off their makeup and shown up on MTV like they had been frog marched in at gunpoint to be
the 83 Lick It Up era.
And then
Lick It Up era.
And then the audience demanded that they put the makeup back on.
Put it back on.
Okay. You know what? Some things should remain a mystery. Put a cape on that guy. It's not as endearing when you flick your tongue when I can see your actual skin tone.
Gene, I can't see any of your side ass. This isn't working at all.
What if I just wore jeans? I mean, I guess it's better, but also, no. Put your hair back in the samurai. I don't like this at all. So yeah, it would just, again, I was very heavy rock adverse for the vast majority of my life. So I don't have a grand affinity for Kiss. Everything I have.
What's the kind of music that you listened to back then? Like what?
I mean,
rock adverse. What were you digging?
I basically would listen to pop radio up until the point I got the first Devo record, and my cousin was super into the Cars, and so anything with synths was something I listened to up until the point I saw Ice-T in the Breakin' movie. And then I'm like, whatever the fuck that is, that's what I'm into. And so I'm pretty much listening to hip hop that entire time. So all my exposure to mainline rock music or heavy metal throughout the 80s is just I'm watching MTV because it's on. Because I want to watch MTV, but I suffer through that to get to what I want to watch is basically what happens.
I think there's an alternate universe where there is such a thing as the Cars meet the Phantom of the Park. I would like
God,
to see Rick
if
Ocasek
only.
I don't know.
Breathe fire.
That it would have gone much different if I'm being honest.
Just like
with you.
Rick Ocasek opening his mouth and a lion roar comes out of it.
Benjamin Orr somberly singing Who's Gonna Drive You Home to Melissa.
Well, Melissa's like, where's my fiance? Shut up. I'm singing in front of this pool table right now. God damn it. And then at some point they walk across the pool and everyone's like, great. When are you going to produce that Weezer album? And that would be the end of it. So yeah, there's no, this set of circumstances, I don't think could happen at any other time. I don't think any other band had the presence where they're like, you know what we need to do? Have them fight robot albino monkeys. They're perfect for this. I can't think of another band
have them be literal superheroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the giant incident. This was how I was even more aware of them, was the fact that when Marvel produced a comic book based on Kiss, that they had mixed their blood into the red ink of the cover.
Yes.
And parents had gone buck wild crazy over the idea that this microscopic amount of blood might end up in their kid's comic book. But
yeah, and the guy that produced that, and I can't for the life of me remember his name, but he would go on to do the end run of Crazy, which I remember reading when I was a kid, which was just like, I want to say they stopped publishing it because so many parents wrote in going, you can't do this anymore.
This is bad.
This is bad.
It is time for my child to graduate to a mad or a cracked, something that
exactly
that has real stamina, that has a name I can trust.
Wow, I did not know that Marvel did a comic book about Kiss. Does that mean there is a possibility at some point they join the MCU?
Sure, they
really
are in some universe. They are kind of are. I mean, one of the covers I remember was them in the fist of Doctor Doom. I never read an actual comic book they were in. I just remember the covers of them.
Well, and I think they were introduced in a Howard the Duck issue or something really wacky
sense.
like that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Howard the Duck was the most rock and roll of their titles. Yes. It was that and Doctor Strange were the things that college students used to smoke weed to and read. Exactly. So back when you needed weed to get through a Marvel comic.
When you were killing that month between Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park and the Star Wars Holiday Special.
So yeah, this is the year when pop culture just like, I don't know what to do with kids anymore. They'll give the Muppets a movie. Star Wars is on TV with Harvey Korman, and Kiss is meeting the Phantom of the Park.
And it's abundantly clear in this movie that Hanna-Barbera's view of what the kids are into is some 20 years old.
Yes. It is crazy what a stranglehold Hanna-Barbera had on Saturday morning cartoon life. And yet what they viewed as a story for television just does not progress. Because if you took out the members of Kiss and inserted the members of Scooby-Doo, or a cartoon shark, or a cartoon caveman, or a cartoon revolutionary ghost.
I was going to say, do not leave out the Funky Phantom.
But there's no difference in the storytelling here. Like, the only thing that doesn't happen is a mask is ripped off of Zerby's head, and they're like, oh, the real villain is. That's the only thing they don't hit.
Well, you know what this really, really felt like to me is the new Scooby-Doo movies were like 72 to 74, which were the ones with like, Scooby-Doo meet Sonny and Cher.
Exactly.
And this totally felt like, they were given the opportunity to do something with Kiss, and they were like, that thing we used to do with the whole, Scooby-Doo meets so-and-so, let's do that.
Yes. And sure, just swap out, Charlie Chan and family with just subtle racism.
This is why we're all
Kiss.
This is why we're all on medication now.
Exactly. Our brains can all be traced back to Hanna-Barbera.
And so there's a lot of this that just feels like the TV version of Shazam. And what was that bunch that Hanna-Barbera did that they just did a horror movie of, Gina?
The Bears?
Banana Splits.
The Banana Splits.
Well, there's like there's like there's the Banana Splits and there's the Hair Bear bunch. I think.
That's right.
I think we're like the entire plot of it was like the bears had afros. I don't.
So don't yell, help! Here come the bears.
I don't know. I think they just solved mysteries. So like they all did.
They all solved mysteries. I think halfway it has to do with why so much of television is caught up in propaganda mysteries, because we were all raised on stupid mysteries and like, this is the only kind of story you can tell. And so that's why CBS just has the Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park in different variations every night of the week.
It's an interesting take on a quote unquote mystery, because you know who the bad guy is the entire time.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there's no twist, nothing. It's just that guy who reveals himself as a villain from the minute he appears on screen.
He also doesn't seem to be much of a phantom in the traditional sense.
Yeah, I kind of had that note.
Yeah,
no,
like
mask,
you would think he's
no cloak.
Yeah, he should be like skulking around the park, and he really isn't. He's just like sending his minions.
He's got his John Tesh wall of keyboards that they like to constantly go, it can spin. Don't forget, this thing can spin.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a scar. He doesn't have a mask. There's no reveal. He doesn't steal Melissa at any point. Like, you'll be the perfect robot lady of my dreams. Nothing like that. It's just like he wants the park to primarily be about his robots. And the owner of the park's like, I don't know. It's not doing it for everybody. Now it's roller coasters and having Kiss play in the parking lot.
Yeah.
The
owner of the park is, I need this park to make money.
Right. This is not really a robot forward experience. The robots are nice and everything, but the park goers have decided they would like roller coasters and Kiss to play in the parking lot.
He is very offended that his Revolutionary War robots aren't enough to bring the kids
Nobody
to the
gorilla
park
figurine anymore.
Right. I mean, can you imagine in a theme park that you went to as a kid and they're like, wait till you see the animatronics, and it's a gorilla that leans over.
I'm telling you, you got to see this fucking mechanical barbershop quartet. It's going to blow your goddamn mind.
This thing will change your life, man.
Well, we don't want to go to
that.
Disneyland where they have an actual barbershop quartet. Let's go to this other theme park. They've got a robot barbershop quartet.
The impressive thing about Magic Mountain, though, is, you mentioned, Patrick, the parking lot concert. This is at the point where Kiss was literally selling out stadiums, which to me was the funniest thing about this movie, that they're like, and they're going to be in the parking lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is like state fair level
exactly
concert performing.
But what they're basically doing is taking their giant stadium stage show and putting it in a parking lot, because they have the same lifts and the drum kit raises at one point. And they make a big deal of how many speakers they have and that they're all numbered. And there's some guy going, move 23 to the left. Is this entertainment? I'm watching people stack and restack speakers. This is something we need to know about, because it doesn't matter at all.
Also, I don't find it very believable, because all of those people standing there in the audience, thousands upon thousands of people standing there in the audience, no cars in the parking lot. How do they all get there?
Sure. Magic Mountain had a lot more parking lot back then. That's good news for that. Now it's mainly roller coasters and a parade of Wendy's and whatnot. I mean, Magic Mountain, for those outside of California, now known as Six Flags Magic Mountain, but it's way up in the north end of Southern California. It's the only theme park, to my knowledge, that borders an active trailer park. And not that there's anything wrong with it. And it's a coaster park. It's just the place where they're like, we do coasters. We build giant fucking coasters.
Yeah, they are the dude that created SeaWorld made Magic Mountain, basically looking to get into the amusement park industry. And this Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park is actually a nice little historical artifact, because it's the year before Six Flags bought them. So it's one of the last film things where you get a lot of really nice shots of signs that say Magic Mountain and stuff that, has since been replaced with Six Flags branding.
Yeah. And as soon as Six Flags bought them, they got rid of all the robotic gorillas, no more barbershop quartet robots.
It's just not the same.
No more cyborg Revolutionary War soldiers. Yeah.
They lost their soul.
Samurai. Yeah. No more, robotic ninjas to just grunt as loudly as humanly possible for as long as possible before they start fighting.
They do at least validate my 7-year-old belief that, any sort of, ninjas or anything like that all went hi-ya when they would fight with you, because we get a lot of that.
Yes, but nary a haikiba, which I kind of missed. To put some historical context into this a little bit more, Hanna-Barbera has a deal with NBC to produce movies because they want to get into live action a little bit. And so somewhere in Burbank, some exec thought, what if the Stepford Wives, but with Kiss, and was then handed a massive pile of cocaine as a bonus. And somehow, despite this, you will often see this being said, it was like, this was the second biggest original TV movie of that year. But it was second in the ratings to The Love Boat. So
What a
not
time.
good year.
What
All
a time.
perspective.
So Shogun #1, a TV miniseries that lives on, and then this, but it also lost to The Love Boat and Fantasy Island.
To be fair, they were both very special episodes. So
True. Well, Charo was there, and she's a ratings go-getter.
sweep, you know, what are you going to do?
Once she coochies, you can't say no. So, again, the show is best enjoyed with a Wikipedia article open. So you can just put who the fuck is Charo, and you'll instantly know.
Charo, the only celebrity to ever cross over from the Love Boat universe to the Fantasy Island universe. I think that's actually true. She got off the Love Boat at Fantasy Island. That was the connection.
Really, the
true.
devil never crossed over from Fantasy Island to the Love Boat? That I find hard to believe.
Well,
Roddy McDowell was very busy back then.
He was. Oh, Gina, remember Roddy McDowell as the devil?
I do remember Roddy McDowell. His little horns and his little elf ears.
Oh, he was so indignant that he couldn't beat Mr. O'Rourke.
That episode scared the bejesus out of me. In a way that Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park never could, apparently.
yeah. If Roddy McDowell had the Kiss makeup on, that would have scared the hell out of me.
Oh, man.
Trust me.
Yeah. But which one would he be? Would he be one of the main four, or would he be one of those distaff ones like the Ankh Warrior or what?
Hello, I'm the Star Child.
Just not far off from the ADR.
Beth, I'm calling you. We just can't get the sound. Oh, God. So this opens with gigantic images of Kiss.
They're like, they're
over.
kaiju, basically.
Yes, they are. They're huge. And Peter Criss is tippity tapping against a giant flat ride. And it starts with Peter Criss, and I'm like, who the fuck agreed to this within Kiss? I can't imagine Paul Stanley going, oh, yeah, definitely start with Peter Criss. I love that guy right now. But I guess it is alphabetical because it goes the four members of Criss and then Anthony Zerbe, and then it's out. Then the movie starts.
The great thing, you get Gene, again, framed behind Colossus because they want to advertise that's our new coaster that opened this year. And then these two girls walk by and look up at him like, "Oh, hey, Giant Gene."
I was gonna say they're not startled. They're just like,
Not at
"Oh,
all.
there he is."
They're just rocking along like, oh, that's a perfectly acceptable version of Kiss. This 100-foot tall behemoth who breathes fire. Anyways, I'm off to Revolution, and they walk away. The guys are superimposed over what I would say are kind of poorly lit shots of Magic Mountain here.
I mean, you really can't beat Paul Stanley turning around and wiggling his butt at a roller coaster.
He's showing it who's boss.
And then you've got them on the octopus ride vehicle that looks like it was probably in the maintenance bay. And they're just like, throw a green screen in behind it. We'll shake it around a little bit. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. This worked in Earthquake. It turns out that Kiss were actually the opening act because let's meet the Canyon High Marching Band. Just the way every Kiss fan wants to start the show is by seeing a marching band. And I keep telling them, Kiss first, then marching band.
How many times?
But no one listens to me. The police chief of this theme park is named Sneed, and he's worried that the Kiss band or the fans or a combination of each of them will start a riot as evidenced by a human pyramid.
Yes, which was all the style at the time, if you'll remember.
Sure.
We just couldn't stop making human pyramids. I mean, like every picture of my parents back in the 70s are just in a pyramid.
It was the Where's the Beef of 78.
And so, as we all know, the first sign of a riot is when people start piling on top of one another. But Calvin Richards, the park's kind of Texan, kind of Burklin, kind of I haven't decided what my character is and I don't have time to figure it out. Owner believes that having Kiss play there will, quote, finally put this park on the map, which I agree will make it easier for people to find. If you leave your theme park off a map, they're probably not going to find it.
Well, and you can see Giant Gene from the freeway.
That's
so.
true.
That's very true.
That helps
you
draw
can see
him
him from you can see him from the 5, as people know locally, the Grapevine, which is only called that after Giant Gene disappeared.
I like that Calvin is also kind enough to let us know that the fans have given themselves a name. They call themselves the Kiss Army.
This isn't awkward for me to tell my head of security. He needs to know this because we don't have Google yet. Every piece of information you have, you get from your boss. You know what's better than one establishing shot of a marching band? 2.
Hell yeah.
Double down.
They know what we like.
And if you wanted to get a ride experience of what Revolution was, is Revolution still there? I have no idea.
No idea.
I know. I think I was there a couple of years ago, and Revolution that you put, I don't know if it's still like this. Maybe they changed it because it was kind of a crazy idea. You put VR goggles on.
Oh,
now,
that's right. Yeah.
And you
my
ride
God.
Revolution. And you're
With
like in a
VR
starship-
goggles?
With VR goggles.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
not throwing up?
No, you are. That's
Oh,
the
you
thing. You are. Everybody throws up every time. So I
And
don't know if it's
Colossus
there,
is
but-
still there, but now it's Twisted Colossus. I think they had to take it down at some point because
Well, yeah, that was made
Woody's have an age span to them, but then they brought
Yeah.
it back as Twisted Colossus. It's a dueling coaster now.
that Twisted Colossus is a hell of a fucking ride.
Oh, it's a
pretty
great
cool.
coaster.
Yeah.
It's a really amazing coaster.
Gina, are you sick of us talking about theme park shit yet?
I wish I could enjoy roller coasters, but I cannot. I have a tender tummy.
You know what you would really enjoy is if there was a giant Gene Simmons just staring at you while you were riding the coaster.
Well,
That
what
might
if he
settle
like
your
what if
stomach.
he like scooped me up and like just kind of like like one of those like a lot of theme parks have that like kind of space needle where you can go to the top and see like or like what if you turned like a big Ferris wheel? That
Yeah.
would be
No,
all right.
there's an elevator all the way to the top of Gene's samurai haircut that you can just kind of hang out
yeah,
up there.
that I would love. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid
You
of
can
heights.
rest your head on my
the
giant
drop
side
that
ass.
that bothers me. So yeah, no, I'm totally down with that.
Ride the flicking tongue.
Okay,
Is
now
that a
you've gone too far.
My apologies to Gina, women in general, the concept of femininity.
Edit that out somehow of my brain.
Nope, I'm afraid everything goes from here to a little bird who engraves it in a stone tablet.
Okay.
So unfortunately, this is going to have to stay. But on Revolution, we get to meet these two idiots, Sam and Melissa. Now,
Yay.
Sam works at the theme park somewhere and gets off of Revolution and
Yes.
goes, that doesn't look right. I gotta go, honey.
That is his sole line of dialogue in
Yes.
this entire movie, isn't it?
And we
Yes.
don't ever know what it is that doesn't look or feel right. He just sort of claims that to the air.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, whatever that is, it's got to be bad. I got to leave. See you later at that Kiss concert, honey buns. And he saunters off to go underground. And then we just see him in this karate dojo science uniform that he has that's crossed in front of his breastplate. And he's just feeling around the walls. Just
He's
like-
feeling up the walls. It's very sensual.
just like he's really feeling the space. Is this concrete? Is that plaster? Ooh, is that a plastic resin? And then a door opens and he's like, hey. And then he gets phantasm vortexed away.
Yes.
The door closes and we're like, hey, scared yet? And we're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on.
And this is the beginning of what becomes a runner throughout this movie, which is somebody has something really innocuous and uninteresting happen to them, and they scream like they're being stabbed to death.
What just happened? We'll never know.
Nope.
So
Maybe you'll
di-
see them later on.
Dennis and I have a history with Sam here, who was the star of a short-lived show called Arc 2 that we did on Inside the Idiot Box. And on Arc 2, he has this inexplicably flesh-colored beard. So we just refer to him as Flesh Beard.
He is a blonde gentleman. He is a blonde man who has a blonde beard and light skin. And he just looks like he has a skin beard the whole episode of this horrible TV show that we did on our show.
But what is a beard if not a skin beard? Honestly?
That's true.
Well, it should be a hair beard, but he's got a skin beard.
He was breaking new ground.
He looks like a G.I. Joe where you rub all the paint off of the beard of the G.I. Joe. So it's the same color as the rest of his face. Not saying I've done that in the past, but no, I just did it 15 minutes ago.
But you are promising to do that in the future?
Oh, yeah.
Start a Patreon?
I'm going to take him at his word on that one.
I got a TikTok channel where all I do is take Q-tips dipped in alcohol and rub all the paint off my G.I. Joe faces.
I'm constantly going after Dennis with the magic eraser. We'll get there one day.
Just one guy in Indiana furiously masturbating to this, and then I'm sure that'll pay off in the long run. How are you going to make money doing it? Volume.
He's the same. He's the same guy that's masturbating to you talking about ride the flicking tongue. That same guy.
Our biggest fan.
Speaking of ghosts of movies past, Gina, the three street toughs who roam the park getting in and out of line.
Oh my God. The two teenagers and their dad.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You're not wrong.
Reminded me so much of the ineffectual motorcycle gang from Friday the 13th 3D. And they're surprisingly a worse motorcycle gang. They just are bad at it. Literally, the only damage they truly cause is they tear down that human pyramid.
Which honestly, they really deserve it. That's just obnoxious. They're just getting in people's ways.
I just like once
walkway,
again,
right?
You know, the Hanna-Barbera guys go, we need hooligans. They're like Brando and the Wild Ones, right? I mean, that hasn't changed since '53, right?
Yeah, make this one sound kind of like Fonzie, even though we're in Southern California.
Right.
Exactly.
We got to give them names. How do I tell that this one is into motorcycles? Name them Chopper? Yeah. First draft ideas, we're taking all
That's right.
of them.
First idea is the best idea, right?
So you got Chopper, Slime, and Dee Dee because the girl actually kind of has a Ramones haircut, I guess is the reason why she's Dee Dee. I'm not sure.
So much of this, I'm so glad you said that, because so much of this feels like a precursor to Rock and Roll High School, which hits the year after this. In particular, Kiss's accents and acting.
Oh my God.
They'll never be quite as bad as Joey, but they're damn close.
We got
to do so much more.
We got to talk more. We got to talk more about the accents, because like every time they open their mouth, I experience joy, like euphoria.
But we have to get to them first. We have to introduce every other character in this movie, because as I said before, it takes 3 whole commercial breaks to get to Kiss, to even showing up. Just
as a Simpsons fan, this was the ultimate when are they going to get to the fireworks factory?
And then there's actual fireworks though. So
that is true.
In its corner.
It pays off.
Abner Devereaux is the Walt Disney of theme parks that border trailer parks. Why is he mad? Because beautiful animatronic displays that have temporarily been replaced by a quote crude cutout of this kiss, and he's just extremely butthurt about it. And that is the sole source of why he takes human beings and makes them into his animatronic slaves. Everybody,
yes. By gluing a Radio Shack capacitor to their necks, apparently.
Back at the park, Melissa is enjoying multiple Coke beverages that she pays for with change, brought to her by waitresses at a theme park, is harassed by teens who just want to get laid by her, and then because Sam has not shown up, she starts to roam the park and just harasses anybody with a Sean Cassidy haircut. Like,
In what feels like the span of like 10 minutes, she's really worried about Sam. It's been 10 really long minutes since she's seen him.
it's not like him to not show up at the Taco Hut or whatever the fuck this particular dining establishment is, this open air dining establishment. And later, in what seems like a scene filmed exactly after all the other scenes, Abner is whining that he doesn't get enough money for R&D. And they're spending all that cash on promoting a concert with the biggest rock band in the world instead of robot astronauts. I don't know, man. You really think robot astronauts who are on a stage with no guardrails, no ropes, just elevated 3 feet off the ground, how are any of these things not falling off their stage to their fucking doom?
Yeah, the whole park is just like these weird little 5x5 platforms with random characters on it. An astronaut, Revolutionary War people, a gorilla. And they're all just doing this Moomin Shantz 101 bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's just all like, these robots are, and they're just doing the robot. They're just doing it like burp, 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 burp.
Beep, blop, blurp, bleep. And you're like, that can't be, like, why would you come back for that? Why would you need 5 different variations of that? Why would you need the Hall of Great Americans or whatever the fuck he wants to build?
Yeah, I mean, no one goes to Disney and says, boy, I can't wait to get to the Hall of Presidents.
I mean, I go to Lincoln every once in a while, especially because they've got really good air conditioning.
That's right. It's a good place to sit down for.
If you can't go into the tiki room, you go to the Hall of Presidents.
Right. Yeah. You can at least, bring in, one of those pineapple ice creams into the tiki room and enjoy all the casual racism that birds can imply.
I figured you needed the gorilla because there were so many unanswered questions by the astronaut. So he's clearly building to something.
He's trying to tell us about something.
Like a Burma Shave ad if you watch it correctly.
If there's an internal logic to it, if only we could put together the pieces, then maybe we could figure it out. Then they sexually harass Abner and a monkey. And at some point, someone says, just remember who you came with, Chopper. Yeah, stop flirting with that robot monkey and remember your real sexual partner, Chopper. That relationship is rock solid.
I was going to say, one of us, apparently?
Both of us?
Well, again, they are warned by Calvin, if you can't control yourselves, you'll be out of this park before you get in. What? Huh?
It's like a
maybe
magic
there's
trick.
A temporal flux there. I'm not sure.
I will punch a hole through the time-space continuum and send your asses back through it.
Yeah, Scott said earlier, you have to wonder what the Hanna-Barbera people were thought of as teenagers or ruffians, because I don't think anyone put on a blindfold and said, what do you think of a ruffian? And they're like, well, it's like Popeye who fucks with 5 days of scruff on his jawline. Like, I don't think so. I don't think they're a good foil for Kiss. I don't think they're a good foil for this guy who's trying to be a Doctor Who knockoff. I don't think this is good, and I don't like it. But this is what entertainment was in 1978.
That's right.
But here to rescue us from all of this mundane boredom is the one and the only Byron James, who looks so stoned. So stoned.
Stoned Leon.
He just looks like he's baked out of his fucking gourd. And he has a mustache and chin strap combo that is not helping that jawline. Nothing can help that jawline. I love Brian James, but there's something about the way his skull was constructed that makes him cinematic, but also facial hair isn't going to help you, Brian. I'm sorry. If you're wondering who Brian James is, he was in The House 3 that became the last horror movie. And he was also in that Sylvester Stallone, Kurt Russell movie where he plays British for reasons I can't begin to tell you.
And he was also in another movie about realistic looking robots.
Yes.
Which I feel like Joe Turkel might have watched Anthony Zerbe's performance and inspired his performance as Eldon Terrell.
Very, very true. Geez, you know, when someone says like, geez, for a minute, I thought we had another disappearance on our hands to Brian James. And it's like, wait a second.
Another disappearance?
How many other disappearances has this theme park had? Like, no business can sustain multiple serial killers operating on
I mean, is this like a, you know, are they like on a cruise ship where someone just falls off and they're like, oh, must be Thursday.
I mean, Giant Gene got to eat, right?
No.
Wait a second. That's how Giant Gene is feeding himself?
Well, remember that the cover of that Queen album that had that like big robot?
Yes.
So like it's like just holding handfuls of people. Now that scared the hell out of me when I was a child. My uncle had that album, and I would like look at it and be like, no, and then like look at it again, and then like, you know, shove it way back in the back of the cabinet and pull it out, and look at it again. But yeah, just picture Gene's a Giant Gene, so it's just like a handful of people who are enjoying a nice day at the amusement park.
All devoured by Giant Gene Simmons.
Or either that, or it looks like that painting of Saturn or Jupiter eating his son or something, where it's just like,
oh yes,
oh my God,
it's the worst theme park ever.
And so Chopper and company, they're not just there to fuck with things that are easily fuck withable. They also are mechanical geniuses who wander into the engine room of this green octopus flat ride and fuck with it to the point where everyone in ADR is like, stop it. Turn off the ride.
Yes.
It's going too fast.
This is going too far. As compared to what?
and the absolutely unbothered ride technician is just like, I can't.
Just pressing buttons like, does this one do it? No. Does this one do it? No. This is what doing. He's not calling anybody.
Sorry, folks.
Just, oopsie doodle. I'm sure the ride will just stop on its own eventually.
Patrick,
and
you
then,
mentioned the ADR. This whole film has like Andy McDowell and Greystoke levels of ADR. Like 90% of this thing is in ADR, and frequently when people's lips are noticeably not moving.
Well, I have to assume they're filming it on summer days at Magic Mountain, where you can barely hear one another talk when standing next to one another. I can only imagine what havoc that plays with actually recording dialogue. So it sort of makes sense. But then people are also ADR'd when they're alone on sound stages and
when they're kissed.
When they're kissed, when they just have an incomprehensible accent no one can understand. And so it's at that point that Anthony Zerbe just like the Chopper and company like, listen, I might get fired at any second, but I'm targeting you three for death. Meanwhile, Melissa is continuing her search for Sam. She witnesses the flat ride kerfluffle, and when she walks away from it, she is assaulted by a small child with a toy trumpet.
Yeah. Trumpet. A cornet, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Who knows?
It's some sort of odd brass instrument. Maybe he's stolen it from the local marching band that is stomping through Magic Mountain. But when he blows it in her face, the look of shock on her face. Oh my God.
It's the kind of kid that's going to grow up and form a human pyramid. You just know it.
Yeah.
Right.
He's already walking down that road to hell.
So I'm not sure who decided that needed to be included, or they felt like we just need 1 minute of shock and surprise. This was their version of a cat scare. I don't know. But she then finds the Abner's above ground section of his underground base. And he's like, you may come down, enter the elevator mechanism. It's a fucking elevator, my guy.
He's trying so hard. It's like watching Syrian and Cats. He's just like, I signed my contract, check cleared. I'm going to go ahead and give 175% to this role.
Also, Patrick, the elevator does go 150 feet in 2.8 seconds, despite the fact that visually it clearly doesn't.
Right. It also has a Star Trek whoosh,
yes
sound effect. But there's no doors. So that's a little odd to me that they gave it the Star Trek whoosh, but they forgot to give it a door. That's not great. But hey, we're only 2 commercial breaks into this, and these have not only appeared in cutout and translucent form. So I would have been rioting if I was in the Kiss Army at this point. But you know what? 45 years later, and androids, despite what Anthony Zerbe says here, have not taken over my more menial work, which surprisingly requires very little robots and beef eater costumes. This is his idea of entertainment. When he is fired, I'm like, yes, he's making androids of beef eaters. This is not
I need to know.
Anyone needs for entertainment.
I need him to give a presentation of his business plan as to how he thinks this is going to make as much money for the park as a concert by one of the top bands of the time.
Yes.
My animatronic beef eater will sell Worcestershire sauce all over this planet.
Finally, the gin takeover of the theme park scene will begin. But like so many times, Gina, on our show, we have confronted people who are like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z equals $, $, $. And we're like, no.
This might be the most baffling one.
It really is. It's the ultimate equals profit.
Because in comparison, the guy who owns the theme park is, if we get people to come to this Kiss concert, we'll sell so many more tickets to this theme park. And you're like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he's just like, he is offended by their resorting to hiring a common rock band to play at this amusement park.
I'm surprised he doesn't refer to them specifically as a rocka band. That would have really
these rock and roll types.
So he's showing off all this shit to Melissa, who he's invited to his underground lair.
He's like, do you want to touch the skin? It's almost lifelike. She's like, no, I don't think so.
He shows us a disassembled barbershop quartet, and for a hot second, they show the head of one of the singers, and I thought it was the Lionel Richie bust from the Hello. I was so excited. So excited, and then it wasn't.
That predates that video.
Yeah.
That couldn't be true.
I was waiting for Anthony Zerbe to go, oh, it's wonderful.
The head says, hello, is it me you're looking for?
You are looking for me? Oh my God, you're picking me up. I don't have a body. I have no control. So, he really just knows that the future of entertainment is androids.
The future of entertainment is beef eaters and barbershop quartets.
Revolutionary war robots. But he goes, anyways, your boyfriend ain't here, so hit the bricks. Please take this elevator mechanism up to the top floor and don't let your ass, the non-existent door hit you on the way out. And so she back up very slowly to the top floor, because of course that's on a soundstage. They don't have 3 floors of that shit. It's just like 2 guys on a rope going, oh fuck, she's so much heavier than she said she was. And then Robo Sam makes his first appearance. And how do you know he's Robo Sam? Because he has a transistor in his neck that has animated magic sparkles on it. And that's how you can tell.
The sparkles equals the brainwashing.
So wait, is Sam now a robot? Like the only a head barbershop quartet guy, or is he a human that has a transistor taped to his neck? Like,
Yes.
are there two different things happen? Okay, got it. Thank you for
Sam's
explaining.
all that and more, Dennis.
I see.
He chops, like he cuts, he juliennes.
Now, how
He
much
does
would
a
you
lot
pay?
of different things.
Ron
Well,
would be so proud.
To jump ahead, like when he does trap the thugs, like, are they dead? Did he kill them and then like
God, I hope so.
turn them into robots? Because they're definitely in pieces.
Yes.
When we see like one has their head removed, and it's like, okay, so is that robot versions of them? And if so, did he kill them? Or are they like Sam, just mind controlled?
Yes.
Yes, I answered
Okay.
my own question earlier. Thank you. That clears everything up.
And
It sure does.
They go into more of that in the novelization of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. If you've read that, it's a scholastic.
Which is strangely 600 pages.
Yes.
And
it's a tome.
Same dude that wrote Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
And then like the novelization of Gremlins, the actual plot of the movie doesn't start until about 2/3 of the way in.
There you go.
it goes deep into those robot astronauts. They are much more enmeshed into that version of the story.
That gorilla's backstory. Whew.
Oh my God, it's so tragic.
It made me cry.
Because he's just a regular robot in a gorilla suit. He's not even a robot gorilla. He's just a guy robot in a gorilla suit.
That just blew my
It's so
mind,
half-assed.
Patrick. That just blew my fucking mind. That is tragic.
As a person who has programmed and run an actual fucking robot, I can say this because that was deceptively simple and complex all at the same time. It cost multiple millions of fucking dollars and would fall over if you blew on it semi-hard. So it's not like, I mean, obviously this is fantasy in many respects, but what they're proposing robots can do here is a little far-fetched, but we don't come to Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park for realism, because if we did, we would probably be carried away by guys in white suits with butterfly nuts.
Devereaux was Boston Dynamics before Boston Dynamics. He knew what was up.
Very true. So a Chopper and company go to the House of Terror Thrills, or I never caught the name of it. What I do know is you have to take a suspension bridge to get there.
Yes.
And then inside are all the Schmooniversal monsters, but not.
Yes.
They're so close to copyright, but not Universal monsters.
And some people shoot day for night. Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park shoots dark for dark.
Yes.
Because you can't like see a thing that's going on in this. I think whoever was the DP on the desert stuff and Mandalorian that took place at night was like, a lot of really good ideas here.
What if you couldn't see anything? Would that help? And oddly enough, the problem with the director's like, actually, I love this because
Exactly.
I don't want to see any of it.
These are the best scenes in the whole damn thing.
It really is. It's full of Schmankenstein's monster, Dracula,
The Schmummy's there. That's my favorite.
The Blair Wolf.
the Fluff Man, just a guy whipping the shit out of another guy
With
And
a
then-
whip that sounds like gunshots. He's going to town with that
really
thing.
does. Over and over and over. And that guy is just taking it.
The
He
Foley
was in-
artist was like, my time to shine, man.
Well, I would argue there are two places the Foley guy really shines. One is the whip, and the other is whenever they're replicating Gene Simmons's footfalls
Yes.
with his giant boots and their little tippy taps across, like he's wearing character shoes across the ground. Like I think it would be a bit more of a thump. Can we honestly? That's a lot of boot hitting the
Yes.
ground, and they're like, what if it's a little gentleman's soul?
We're not We're not quite there yet, but so much to say about Gene's walk in those boots.
Oh my God. Listen, we have to reserve a half an hour for Gene's walk because this betrays any level of cool. Like, as ridiculous as this is, when you see Gene Simmons walk in those boots, he looks like he just got off a horse ride that lasted 5 hours.
I just made the note he has to poop so bad.
Oh.
Just any cool factor to the costumes are undone when they're just sauntering about going, I don't know where these robots are coming from.
I swear to God, on the third watch, it occurred to me, I was like, I bet there is a practical reason for this because they have those weird like hockey shin guards that go up to his knees and they kind of flare out. And I was like, I bet if he doesn't walk bow-legged like that, they catch on each other and he's probably face planted before.
Or they're slapping his thigh because there's the extended part. So he's got to avoid the slap up against him and he's angling the way he walks, which is fine when you're playing bass because you're just across, legs akimbo and playing in front of a microphone and occasionally breathing fire. Everything about the costume works on stage and none of it works when he's walking around like the Incredible Hulk, but he's got hemorrhoids.
Or he has to poop. All valid options.
Listen, anything that is vaguely downstairs related that could go wrong is the way he looks when he's walking around. And if you really want to take the piss out of Kiss, make them walk on a suspension bridge in those boots. They are so careful walking there. You've never Kiss are so badass and they're just grabbing onto the ropes, just white knuckled because those boots are not meant for jostling. They're not meant for karate either.
No,
if we're being honest, it's just, it really should have redone the costumes for this modified them in some way so they could look cool because it's just one of those things like a Frank Franzetta painting on the side of a van. That's cool. And then you see it in motion and you're like, oh,
but it would be so less glorious than it is.
Yeah.
I think the one element of the House of Thrills that I find least plausible is they wander into one room where someone is beheaded by a giant, mechanism that cuts off your head. And then the head falls into a well.
Yes.
And you're like, is someone fucking fetching that head every 5 minutes?
Yeah, what's the reset time?
It's just coming back around like in a bowling alley.
Next show in an hour, everyone. Next show in an hour.
It's just got a big mechanism that fishes it out of the water. It dries on the way up. It comes in through her body, shoots down through her neck.
And all the while you got that WB dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. So yeah. I can't. So Dracula gets one of them, and then Slime is kidnapped by a mummy, and then another one of the figures I didn't get to kind of looks like the Phantom of the Opera makeup, but only if the Phantom was dressed up like Ralph Cramden on a date at a bowling alley. It's just very opened but sharp collars, and it's like a very 50s cash suit, but with the Phantom of the Opera, like. The opera was located in a very guys and dolls level universe.
And again, as they're grabbed, which on film seems, it's scary to get grabbed by somebody, but you once again get that scream like somebody's being stabbed to death. And then they like get dropped in a tube, but then they go up. Like gravity is just all over the map in this thing.
Yes, they are, because the tube exists two places because they're like, we've got one tube. Well, do you have two cameras? Sure. We'll just shoot them both ways and then reverse the footage. And so when Dee Dee gets, backs into an Iron Maiden, like Abner barely had to try to get this chick. She goes, And you're like, okay. I mean,
She
I
fell
guess.
down, but she's getting shot up, and I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how it works, everybody. But
At
later
least
on,
we
see
get some
them as
wire
robots.
work later on that's totally in line with this, where people are jumping straight up and then suddenly they're going sideways. And this film is very confused about gravity.
Yeah. Well, listen, they had some rope rigs, and they're like, I think we can use the hell out of this
Damn
Colossus.
it, we're going to use them.
The piece of Colossus at 2:00 in the morning. And they also had some stunt guys who are like, I'll jump off of that. And like, well, let's record it at least 5 times and use all of them. Because it's that thing that I love about stunt people. Because, and obviously, and no one should ever be hurt on a fucking movie set for something as ridiculous as Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park or any other movie. But of course, to hit an airbag, you have to hit that with your back. So if you're jumping forward, then pushing your legs out in front of you.
Yeah.
So you can hit your back. Or if you're dropping off forward, you're doing a somersault so you can hit your back. And every single time it's an albino ape, it's going, whee, leaning way back to hit that airbag. Anyways, we get our first Kiss concert in the parking lot. It's everything you wanted it to be, I guess.
Finally, a half an hour in, on the nose. I timed it.
On the
we
nose.
get some Kiss.
And then you have Abner in his spinny chair, and he's like,
Yes.
yes, I wanted to watch this concert through the tiniest TV screens possible. At one point, Kiss are behind a laser jail bars, and he goes, my robot replacements over here are going to put on your concert for you, but you can watch it on these TV screens, and they're literally the size, they're like a size of a shoebox.
I did like on the third viewing, and I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes, but it occurred to me that I was like, Abner's workstation is supposed to be the Phantom's organ, right? Like that is the the thing they're trying to sell there. What if the Phantom's organ rotated?
Yeah. What would that be like? I mean,
I think it would go something like this.
Yeah. Would it be any different than Peter Criss's, drum kit that elevates off the ground by 15 feet? Not really. You do have to wonder where Abner was on January 6th. I just have to ask the question. He's just a little shady. Anyways, enough of my yakking. Let's boogie. We are just treated to 5 full-ass minutes of a Kiss concert, which is what you're there to see, I guess. But it's not like they hadn't appeared on television doing this before. But I guess if you're a Kiss fan, it is what you're there to see. At least this way, it's not attached to a Paul Lynde Halloween special.
I was gonna say, I much more appreciated the show they put on for the Paul Lynde Halloween special.
Yes.
I mean, maybe next year we do that. Like every January, we cover a piece of Kiss media and we cover the Paul Lynde special.
It all culminates in.
I mean, unfortunately, we already covered Gene Simmons' Runaway.
Yes, but we haven't covered any other Gene Simmons cinematic epic.
I really think
Has
we
he
should.
done things beyond Runaway?
He played a trans person.
Oh dear!
In a John Stamos action thriller.
Oh my goodness!
Where basically John Stamos is playing James Bond's kid.
Oh wow!
And he's got a magical car, and yeah.
and Gene Simmons is a trans woman named like Velvet something or other.
Oh man,
yeah.
I'm way behind on the Gene Overe, if you will.
It's just, if we all want to get canceled, it's right there for us, and we would have it coming.
Oh my.
That's in the future. It is interesting that Abner observes Paul Stanley enter the stage on the ramp, to the stage. And the way he arrives is he fires a laser beam out of his eye, walks down the laser beam, and then shoots another laser beam. Apparently they just subsist once he fires them, and goes, you know what? I'm going to fuck around with these supernatural creatures. One of them breathes fire and goes through fucking walls. And this one is firing laser beams. The other one flies. And Peter Criss, I don't know, does cocaine in this trailer. We don't really find out what he does.
I feel like
just-
their powers are so unclear that maybe that's why Devereaux thinks he can take the swing. Like,
Sure.
I got a shot. I don't really understand what they do.
Right. I think I can beat them with robots. I got a lot of them. And then he commands RoboSam to go to the press pit and says, shoot their faces from every angle. Also, I want to make them look a little bit better. Can you back the camera up? And RoboSam replies with, how do you feel about Cleveland? Listen, I'm not a cover model either, but oh my God.
There's a reason for the makeup.
Yeah.
There's a reason the makeup is there. The makeup is doing a whole lot of work.
It's all the heavy lifting.
You really want to see the opposite of this. Just look up Kiss non-makeup reveal MTV and have them staring straight into camera like they're having their photos taken at a police station. So against their will. This is not how they want to do it. This is so below them. And they're like, oh, fuck, here I am. And yeah, the idea is Kiss solves mysteries here. And
But they're also like superheroes. Like they have magical powers and they have these like talisman that give them these powers, which is never established. Like the audience just kind of has to, put two and two together to determine, oh, okay, they are powered by these talisman.
Yeah, and the powers are very vague. It's like, I think Starchild can like spy on people. It seems
he's
like
definitely got eye-based powers where he can hone in, but he can also hypnotize people.
Yes, he can shoot lasers that can hear things
out of his eye.
Where you hear things.
Yes.
Listen, it makes sense both on paper and in the movie. Gene Simmons is the Hulk who breathes fire. Ace Frehley can fly.
No, he teleports them, right? Does he can teleport?
Yeah,
them?
There's teleportation and hovering.
Yes.
There's various flight powers, but also there's the power for him to just yell "act" at people.
Yes, he does do that a lot. Yes.
So in my research, and I'm sure you look this up as well, Patrick, this was my favorite bit about this film, that apparently the act came out of the writers of the screenplay were told to shadow Kiss for a few days and kind of get the lay of the land. And I guess to be like an a-hole, Ace Frehley, who was apparently really high at the time as well, was just going around saying act to make their life difficult. And so the writers just went, okay, if that's the way you want to play it. And
that's what this guy does.
Ack in a bunch, and I guess he realized that in the 11th hour, freaked out, and then they had to write dialogue for him.
Yeah, but you get plenty of Ack.
Yes,
like Ack is
the
definitely
Ack is still there.
Oh yeah,
and just as inexplicable.
So, and what were Peter Criss's powers? What did he do?
He wrote Beth.
Okay. That's important.
Maybe he dies several times and comes back. He does mention that he's almost run out of lives after a certain karate fight. But
yeah, you get a little bit of, I'm running out of my 9 lives here.
He's the cat guy, right?
Yeah.
So I assume that he's probably immortal or something like that, the whole 9 lives thing. I'm totally guessing that. I just pulled that out of my rear end because the movie makes no attempt to explain what he does.
No.
In a perfect world, they'd tell you a song.
Sure.
Because like if you look at Gwar, which is the only thing I can compare them to, Gwar is a bunch of art school students and, they're aping Kiss. So they create these characters and then they write these songs that have backstories to the characters. Kiss is like, I'm a demon. And Detroit's pretty cool, right?
Right.
Let's write a song about that.
You know what I enjoy doing? Rock and rolling all night and partying all day. Does that work for everybody? I'm a demon.
I guess that's what Star Children do. I don't know.
Intergalactic cat with a girlfriend named Beth.
My understanding was that Peter Criss's power, if he was a cat, was to pee on your favorite pillow. Is that what he does?
It's just to hide behind a television for a few days, and by the time you get worried that they're gone, they reappear to eat. So, speaking of the demon, this is when Miami shadow aliens appear, and Brian James and the rest of the theme park cops are like, "Oh shit!" And then Gene Simmons just full on Kool-Aid mans through a brick wall.
He sure does.
Oh yeah.
And to steal from the Beyond Yacht Rock guys, the soundtrack is some level of saloonessy with just someone ragtiming on a fucking piano.
I was like, why is all the fight music like chase scene music from Starsky and Hutch? This makes no sense.
I don't know, but it totally is. It just absolutely is. And every single time it's in a different genre that is not Kiss. And so we just get a lot of like semi $6,000 man special effects going on.
And shame on Six Flags for building Coke stands out of balsa wood. They should know better.
That's on them.
Truly. But he just mows through these people, nearly chokes a guy to death, breaks another guy's arm. Brian James is like, "My name's Paul. This is between y'all." And he just sidesteps. He's like, "I don't want to deal with this shit at all." And so the next day, a legion of theme park cops and the owner arrive at Kiss's Hollywood Manse, which anyone can walk into.
Yes.
And the Kiss has decided to sit on these very tall lifeguard chairs outside their pool in cloaks like they're the fucking future council from Bill and Ted.
This is also the first time we hear them attempt dialogue with each other.
Oh yes.
And it is extraordinary.
It's where we learn that Gene is voiced by a lion and everyone else is voiced by Joey Ramone.
Like he's kind of a lion, but also like his voice is like definitely tweaked with like some sort of synthesizer. Like you remember when we were kids and we had those plastic microphones that you talk into and it kind of makes the voice. Well, that's kind of what they've done to his voice. And I don't, because he has a pretty distinctive speaking voice. Yeah. And I don't know why they felt the need to further alter it.
Yeah, Gene Simmons has a very deep voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
I think they were just trying to make it more interesting because having them show up and sun themselves by a pool in giant dark silver cloaks wasn't interesting enough.
And then you've got Paul Stanley, who I will never forget. At least 20 years ago, I heard a radio DJ say that even as a young man, he sounded like a 48-year-old Queen's housewife. And he absolutely does. And every time I just think of that when he speaks, and it is hilarious.
What do you think, Star Child?
They're sweating that we won't do the concert.
You had to melt those bars so we could get through them. He's sweating. He's sweating over here. He's totally sweating.
There is the only thing that tops that is Joey Ramone has a line in Rock and Roll High School where he says, "Yeah, we're going to be in town one more day, and if we like them, we'll come pay you and Mr. McGloop a visit." And it's like totally sounds like that. It's like they're all Joey Ramone. They're all good Jewish boys from New York.
Let's go to McDonald's and get a hamburger. What do you say, huh?
What do you think, Ace Man?
What was this, chicken bones? Come on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What do I know from this? I just need to go out my trailer. But also, I love the idea that Kiss have to live all together like the fucking monkeys.
Yeah, they are literally the monkeys. They live in their big fun house with their goofy furniture and their little magical toys.
Please tell me there's a Kiss mobile.
Oh my God. It's the only thing that's missing from this.
Yeah, they should be like just tootling around the Dracula from the Munsters, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so great.
But so much of this lines up with Bill and Ted's in so many ways that I have to believe at some point they must have approached Kiss to be the future council.
Oh my God.
Because not only does it show up in the first movie, but in Bogus Journey, Bill and Ted fight robot versions of themselves on stage. Bill and Ted's is a high budget version of this movie.
Yeah, I could totally believe that the writers were inspired by this.
Well, not that Clarence Clemens isn't great, but that would have made me so happy.
Right.
You do realize that Bogus Journey, the end credits music is God Gave Rock and Roll to You by
Right.
Kiss.
Yeah.
They did a video for it.
Totally.
So.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
I love this. We figured it out, everybody. We're closing up shop. It's been 7.5 years. I love everyone. We figured it out. There's no more mysteries to solve. So Melissa also walks in to this mansion because there's no fucking security here. Why would they do
And
this?
she's like, well, nobody else will help me find my boyfriend. Perhaps Kiss might help.
Perhaps this rock band.
There's like an army trying to keep her away from the band at the concert, and she waltzes right into here.
There's no one stopping her from going, hey, have you heard from my fiance that you do not know? And they're like, well, we'll help you. Why?
Yes,
What are
we
you
know
doing?
your name, Melissa.
You're looking for someone.
But not Kiss. I'm not sure why Kiss stole my love, but I would like it returned. That is, I don't know what that song is, but you hear it for 5 minutes. Quick question for all of you. What would your magic talisman be? Gina, I ask you first.
I think mine would be a tiny grilled cheese sandwich.
Sure. And the powers would be that you would constantly be ooey and gooey. Is that what we're going for?
I think maybe I could
comforting?
just shoot a beam that melts things.
Oh, I like that very much. Dennis, what say you?
Sorry, my earphones just fall off. What was that? So say that one more time.
What would your magic talisman be?
Sorry.
Maybe ears that can hold on to a fucking pair of headphones?
I had to mute myself for a second because my headphones fell off. So yes, it would be magical headphones that stayed on my goddamn head.
Makes perfect
Thank you.
sense. All right, Scott, hit me.
Mine would be a hand with like a finger pointing somewhere else to distract you. And it would be the power of the Irish goodbye, which I'm known for at parties.
I love it. I
don't
love it.
like staying long. And so people just go, where did Burklin go? Oh, he left like an hour ago.
Burklin, he died 10 years ago.
On this very night.
On this very night, and somehow a portrait of you magically generates on the wall out of nowhere.
Lightning strike, werewolf howl. No, it makes perfect sense. I guess whatever talisman mine would be would allow me to avoid working on the thing I'm supposed to be working on until the last possible second.
Oh, dear Lord. I need that one as well. Can I have two?
I will. I think I have an endless amount of them, if I'm being honest. So while Kiss are at this, are performing their second night of the concert, Robo Sam breaks into Kiss Central and attempts to steal the talismans right out from underneath their cool-ass carpeted sunken conversation pit, which features a couch whose design is one long curled snake. Just a big curled snake, everybody. And the most palm tree art I think I've seen.
There's a lot of palm trees.
What was the movie that we watched that had cactus art in it?
That was
Gina?
The Seduction. She had the fabric cactus sculpture in her house.
These are fabric palm trees. So I'm wondering if whoever made the fabric cacti also started with palm trees and moved on to cacti, because I can't imagine two people having this idea.
I feel like water beds were looking at this furniture going, it's a little too on the nose.
The wall-to-wall carpeting budget on this movie was probably took a good quarter of the funds. Also, this is where I noticed that Robo Sam appears to have a bit of a problem turning. He can't just turn his neck for fear that the little thing will pop off his neck. So he has to turn his head with both shoulders, which makes him appear like he's a different type of phantom, like a vampire, just like coming around the corner.
He's got that Michael Keaton Batman turn going on.
Yes. Another person imprisoned inside his own costume. But after the concert, Melissa comes back to Kiss Central, and this is where we get the longest version of Beth ever performed.
They're just hanging out in the after hours in the amusement park, just noodling on this song.
And listen, it really brings those lyrics home because, sorry, Beth, I can't come home. I have to look for this stranger's fiance.
I've been locked in this amusement park and I can't get out till tomorrow.
So it's at this point that I went, how fucking hard would it have been to name her character Beth?
Honestly, I mean, any other movie would have done it. And this movie's
so
like,
easy.
We're too good for that.
Of all
No,
the
you're not.
low-hanging fruit.
Just really, he hasn't stolen the talismans. We're stretching this out for so much more longer than it needs to be. And this is where I begin to pine for the subtle plotting of the Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island. But once again, how many times do I have to tell them? Gilligan's Island first, then Harlem Globetrotters. And so when Melissa sees Robo Sam unsuccessfully steal the talismans, she's like, oh, thank God I found you. And she lays one on his lips and she discovers the truth. He is just not into her.
No.
What does she do? She screams like she's being stabbed.
Because that would be your reaction to this very passionate man in every circuit. We saw him react to that roller coaster. He lives for life. And now when their lips touch, the feelings are not so much. You would scream too.
It's also great that they're like right in the middle of Beth when he tries to take the talisman. Mm-hmm. And it does something where like suddenly they fumble on the guitar neck and they take a second and kind of look at each other and then go, yeah, fuck it, back to Beth. And just start singing again. You're like, you wouldn't think to go check on the talisman or something?
If your rock and roll mojo is attached to these fucking talismans, wouldn't that be the first place you check?
You'd think.
When you cannot complete the delicate instrumentation of Beth. A song I could probably play on guitar, but fine, sure, whatever. They go back and they're like, well, I don't think we need to worry about this anymore because the force field around these talismans has always protected them before. We have no prequel as to when people have tried to steal the talismans before.
Once again, that's in the novelization. It's all explained. There's all the backstory. Sure.
It's like Star Wars. It's a lived-in world, so you just assume there's a backstory to everything.
But it is at this point, they're like, listen, something fucking weird is happening. If Sam does not get an instant boner for Melissa, there has to be a problem at the park. And the only people who can solve it are us in these boots. And you, with that cape, you come along with us. And it is at this point that Anthony Zerbe says my favorite line of his when he says, I may be outnumbered, but I'm not outmanned. Those are synonyms, my man.
Well, sure.
Those are the same fucking thing. What? Those are the same. Those words have the same fucking meaning.
I may not have enough people, but I don't have enough people.
There may be more folks, but I have more crowds. What the fuck are you talking about? What does any of this mean? And so Ace go to the park. They arrive at the parking lot outside Colossus because that's where you'd go.
Yep.
They float over the gate.
Yes, they jump forward and then sort of drift sideways. I
Ace like to really think looks like he's being hoisted by the most uncomfortable wires on the planet.
Gravity in this film is analogous of the direction of the film overall. It was my take on it.
Things happen because they happen.
Sure.
Some cast members can jump real high, others can float sideways.
Why not?
And then on the other side of the Colossus ride, they meet the dog police.
Yeah.
The dog police.
Werewolf monkey?
Are they dogs? I thought they were like monkeys. Or they're definitely making like primate noises.
Yeah,
yes, but they also have dog noses.
Yeah, and I think they call them monkeys at one point. It's so confusing.
And they also have ears, and underneath ears, they have elfin ears on top, and then just below, a space in the mask where their own ears can be so they can hear the direction.
And important to note that the whole fight scene, once again, is set to music that sounds like a cross between Starsky and Hutch and like an Electric Company short.
Right.
Now, see, for this scene, I think I watched a version that was the version that was released overseas because the title card was actually Attack of the Phantom. At the and for this scene, for most of the incidental music is Kiss music. Like for this scene, it was the only good song they've done, and that was one of the solo ones was Ace Frehley's cover of New York Groove. So that actually kind of punched up this ridiculous of this scene a little bit.
No, the version we watched, I was just thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, when's Morgan Freeman coming out?
It's groovy, but you're also learning about consonants.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that sort of thing. And so, listen, I've faced various challenges in my life, but I don't think I've ever faced anything like trying to describe a fight between Kiss and Robot Albino Ape.
See, this movie is secretly a masterpiece.
It really is.
It kind of is. Like you can feel like they're going for something, and like various executives are huddling up behind the camera, like I don't think this is gonna look very cool. And then a small child approaches and says, "Well, what if you filmed all of this very poorly choreographed karate in slow motion?" And the director goes, "Thank you, tween Zack Snyder. You saved this."
Fight choreography courtesy of Billy, age 7.
And so Anthony Zerbe is sitting in his phantom chair and he goes, "Let the dance begin." I think the dance started, my friend. This dance has been going on for quite a while. And so they beat off.
Take it easy. Take it easy.
Hey, now.
I'm sorry. They defeat
Thank you.
The albino ape men, and they wander into a different amphitheater for a different stunt show.
Yeah, it's like the animal show at Six Flags or something. I don't know.
Sure. And they are confronted by karate samurai robots. And this soundtrack for mine sounded like perhaps Chips season 3.
Yes. And this is when you can also tell it's 1978 because Sam is like suddenly he's in his little B-plot world and he's got a laser gun now. Yeah. And the guys in the arena have laser swords that then turn into real swords.
Yep.
Which is very unclear how Devereaux is achieving that.
It's a bit of a downgrade when you go from like, my laser sword. Now, wait a second. This is going to blow you away. We're taking off the lasers.
Now it's just a regular sword.
Exactly. You get 5 seconds to utilize that lightsaber, and then, sorry, I can't help you after that.
The problem is the battery life.
Yeah, it's so short.
It's very draining.
Yeah, and you have to charge it for like 12 hours afterwards.
It was the late 70s. That was technology they had at the time.
It was the style at the time.
So Sam is trying to zap at the talismans, which decrease Kiss's powers.
Yeah, Devereaux gives him some kind of weird laser pistol-y, who knows what thing.
He looks like he's a Sandman from Logan's Run pointing at them. And
Gene's palm flower was going off. So,
oh my God, his palm flower had gone off so much earlier than this movie. It becomes very evident when he tries to kick people above the waist.
It gets him into trouble with Christine 16.
So, again, watching them cross the suspension bridge in those boots.
Oh my God.
Without a doubt.
So beautiful.
The most hilarious fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I hope the guy playing Schrankenstein's monster got paid for each sit-up because the amount of sit-ups that he performs is like truly he must have abs of steel.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be like he's an animatronic just doing that same, like, he puts his arms out in front of him and sits up. And I had that same note that I'm like, this just must have been hell on this dude.
And this is, of course, the very famous scene where Ace Frehley walked out on filming because he had just had enough. and was replaced by his stunt person, who just happened to be a black man.
Yeah.
Which
ask us how we know.
Because when he gets slammed against the wall by a Dracula, they just show that guy in the Ace Frehley makeup, and you're like,
okay, that's just out there, huh?
There's one thing I know about Ace Frehley, and that's the shape of his nose, because that's the one thing the stars in his eyes really accentuate, and that has changed vastly. Also, his hands have changed into a darker shade.
Basically, this is like the scene in Spaceballs where they accidentally get their stunt doubles, and it's just like it's just like Princess Vespa, just like a guy in a dress with a mustache, and I think one of them's a little person now, and just it's basically like that scene.
I wonder if this is why they backed into the lighting in these scenes in the torture chamber here.
I definitely think they are trying to make this look more scary or more exciting than it actually is. And I'm sure some NBC exec was shaking in his boots looking at this footage, like, I'm a little worried about the action here and the whole rock star angle. I just don't know how this is going to go. And then someone from Hanna-Barbera is like, don't worry, we're going to play high intensity disco behind this fight scene.
It'll all smooth out in the edit.
It's going to be great. We promise.
The NBC guy goes, well, you're going to put in at least one Tarzan yell, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. I'm so glad you brought that up. This is my biggest pet peeve of this time period. Octopussy does it. Return of the Jedi does it. Like, what was their friggin' fascination with Tarzan? I don't get it.
It's just the one easy joke that absolutely everyone had to make, as if they would have been drummed out of the Union if they don't. I don't.
It was like the Wilhelm scream of its time.
Yeah. If you wanted to watch members of KISS watch themselves across the entire room, but walk across the room, climb 2 flights of stairs, have I got good news for you, because KISS Meets the Fan of the Park has got you covered. And Melissa notices immediately that KISS, when they arrive for their 3rd concert, don't appear to be the same, because all the men in Melissa's life end up robotic shells of themselves. It's sad, really.
But I'm unclear on that because she doesn't scream like she's being stabbed. So I'm not really sure what her feelings are on that.
At this point, it has to become commonplace, because how many robotic versions of men you knew are you going to see before you're not screaming, but you're like,
maybe it's you, Melissa. Maybe it's you.
And so KISS gets up there and they start singing a different version of a song they had already released as a single. And it really causes a bad reaction in the crowd, including visible middle fingers, which somehow no one caught. And also visible nips. There are several ladies who are riding on top of shoulders.
Do I need to watch this a 4th time?
T-shirts. I mean, this is practically Three's Company level of nips on screen. And apparently NBC viewers were fine with this. If you told me that the glowing object inside the briefcase from Pulp Fiction were the KISS talismans, I would believe you.
So this is also when we get to the heart of Abner's, what his master scheme is here, which is to, I guess, just tear down Magic Mountain.
First Magic Mountain and then the
Broadway.
rest of Valencia. Which is nearly across the country, but I mean, okay. I guess you could hit the 5.
We'll get there with a
10
positive attitude.
How are they going to get there? Practice, I guess.
Yeah. So Abner, apparently, I guess he's supposed to be the person who wrote this version of the KISS song, which is now Rip and Destroy. And I guess
instead of Hotter Than Hell.
Yeah. And Abner's has the power of words now. Like if he said that, like if his robotic KISS sings that, people will do that. They'll riot is the plot, I guess.
Yeah. That's just, again, And this happens without, Gene Simmons's Star Child, hypnosis powers or anything like that. They just respond to this rebranding of a song they know so violently. He knows they'll just tear down Magic Mountain and then Knott's Berry Farm better watch out.
That's right.
What's next? But before that can happen, Kiss managed to telekinetically get their talismans back.
The power was inside Kiss all along, it turns out.
You know what, Patrick? You said that you thought that you wouldn't be surprised if the glowing talisman was inside the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. I could absolutely imagine Quentin Tarantino saying he was inspired by Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park.
Oh, 100%.
If he doesn't say that on some episode of the Video Archives, I will fucking eat a hat. Just at some point, he's gonna let it go. He just has to. And so it's hot kiss on kiss action here. And
everything you ever wanted. They, either they're going to fight or they're going to start making out with each other.
Maybe both.
A side butt against a side butt.
You just really get all the most awkward angles of these costumes you possibly could see. So much of Gene's upper thigh is
so
visible.
much.
And how weird it is for those boots to reach up and kick somebody. And Ace Frehley just disappears like fucking Nightcrawler a bunch of times. Paul Stanley is goddamn useless until he starts firing lasers out of his eyeballs, which get refracted off of a guitar and back at him. And then Peter Criss kind of meows a little bit. I don't know what Peter Criss does.
And before all of this, Abner just leaves the control room because he doesn't want to see what he caused or so. Oh my God, I don't know what's happening here.
I don't know. It's just he disappears and everyone goes, and the robots blow up and the crowd's like, yay! And cut to commercial. And when they come back, they're in Abner's secret lab. And they go to turn him around in his chair, and now he old?
Yes.
What?
They don't explain.
Yeah.
He's not only catatonic; he's Ebenezer Scrooge.
According to the Wikipedia page, he is frozen. And no, he does not look frozen.
No, he looks like he's got gray hair, and he's about to order a child to get the biggest turkey from the store.
What do you guys think? I've been puzzling over this. Was Abner always that? And maybe the Abner we saw was an android or something? I'm so confused.
That would make a whole hell of a lot more sense. I wish someone had said that aloud.
There's a lot of stuff in this movie that they did not make any effort to establish. Like the thing with the talisman and I mean, maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about Kiss beyond, there was maybe that's part of the Kiss lore. That there's superhumans that are that gain all their powers from these talisman, but for newcomers to the world of Kiss, they make zero effort to explain anything.
Gina, once again, you have to go back to the scholastic novelization of Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. This
was
explained.
On page 10 of the color form sticker book. Thank you very much.
It's all there.
My kingdom for not a horse, but a scholastic reading poster in which a member of Different Strokes is there with the novelization of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, thumbing through it, telling you how reading is the power or whatever the fuck that
just redo that one where David Bowie's just leaping in the air holding a book, but it's Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Oh my gosh.
And we also get the line that really sums up the whole thing, which is he created Kiss to destroy Kiss, and he lost.
Yes.
That happened.
Oh, sure. I guess.
I guess that's a lesson we could all learn from is don't try to destroy Kiss with Kiss.
Yes, don't
There, but
create
for the
Kiss to
grace of
destroy
God,
Kiss.
go we.
Well, I mean, that's why I
He's
chose. That's
tampered
why.
in God's domain.
That's why I chose that for my high school yearbook quote, because it's so profound.
Oh god. and then the movie just like
Ends.
yeah, we give up. You know what? We ran out the clock, everybody. We'll see.
That's right.
See you
Here's
next
some
week.
still shots. Remember this scene?
You remember when this happened?
Remembering the good,
And
just looking back on the good times.
That's right.
a parade of people who were like, yeah,
We were so much
union
more
rules
innocent
say
then.
I have to be listed.
Remember that Canyon group at the beginning? They were
Remember those human pyramids? That was great.
Remember that weird Magic Mountain mascot that was just a koosh ball that was green and yellow?
Yeah, what was
With
that
the kind of
about?
Trumpy face? There you go. There's that. And that's Kiss Meets the Family Park.
And yet
then, of course,
it isn't. There's so much more, and yet there isn't much more at the same time.
Totally.
I know. We are very close to reaching longest episode.
We are
limit
we
for
are
a
longer.
year.
We
I
are
swear,
longer.
No one.
We're 20 minutes longer than the movie is. At this
Oh, it
point.
was so great, though, guys. I was so thrilled when you asked Patrick and I, or Dennis and I, to do this one because, oh my God, this thing's spectacular. It really is.
And it's right up our alley for watching horrible things that have been on TV between 1975 and 1996. So thank you.
Very defined window.
Yeah.
Listen, we play Choose Your Own Death Venture, but the only thing you can choose is whether or not you die and become a robot. That's it.
But can we choose what kind of robot we'd want to be?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
Sure,
a good one. Yeah.
Sure. Dennis, what robot would you be?
Let's see here. This is going to be a bit of a stretch, but could I be a Revolutionary War soldier dressed up as an ape robot? Is that an option? Can I do that?
I mean, anyone could be under that ape costume.
You never know.
Yeah, I
Could be
I think
DB
that's all
Cooper in
yours.
there. Who knows?
So he jumped out of that plane with all that money and he landed in Anthony Zerbe's secret underground lair. And he's like, I'm going to make you
Talk
a robot.
about
This-
bad luck.
This is in the afterword of the Scholastic novelization of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. There's this weird sort of like tangential story. Do you guys know who was in that?
This was
robotic-
in the 45 follow along book, wasn't it, Dennis?
Yes, yes. It would be a Gene Simmons growl, and that would tell you how to turn the page.
Oh my
You'll know
God.
it is
Yeah.
time to turn the page when Gene growls like this. Let's begin now.
That's an eye laser. Don't turn the page yet. We're just testing you. All right, Scott, what say you?
Oh my! I think I'd have to go with the Edgar Winter werewolf apes. They seem pretty
yeah.
cool.
They do seem pretty cool. Gina, what about you?
I want to be my own creation. I would like to be a lovable hobo clown that wanders around the park and just bothers people. You know, I walk up to him, kind of do the little smile and the little sad face, and point to my tummy to kind of indicate I'm very hungry. Please give me food and or money.
Gina, there's already a phrase for that. It's called season pass holders.
Anyways, zing.
Called out.
Yes. You know, what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose to be robotic Peter Criss because no one expects much of robot Peter Criss.
Do you sit around and listlessly sing a love ballad to the wife you can't go home to because you're too busy boning groupies?
Just making robotic calls to my robotic wife going, we haven't done shit yet.
Beth, what can I
gotta
do?
You probably
What can
got
I- what-
somebody overdubbing you, so like the load is light, you know?
Yeah. Doesn't matter what I sound like. I could have a cold. It's all good.
Yeah. The best excuse ever is just we can't find the sound. You know, we're trying, we just can't find it.
It's just not there. We got to keep going because we got to put
You know,
out two albums
that sound
a
is
year.
important. So
So I'm sorry that you made turkey burgers, but I'm not going to be home for long. All right, guys, where can people find more about you and your show?
I don't know. So our compatriot Jeff Griffith, he puts stuff on social media. He has My Face. Is that a thing? He puts up clips of us on My Face.
Yeah, you search it on altavista.com.
Twitter.
It's all there. Ask Jeeves, you'll find it.
Instagram. And things
I'm
like
sure
that.
there's a Friendster page for you at some point.
I would go to Apple Podcasts and check out Inside the Idiot Box. We just started. We started releasing season 3 that we started recording back in 2021, I think. It's been a while. We had to get around to it. It took us some time, but yeah.
I'm sure the very topical references are aging like fine wine.
There is some gold in there. If you want to know more about Sam, listen to the Arc 2 episode for all your skin face needs.
Skin face?
Whatever we call them.
Gina, where can people find you on these here internet?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net. I have my own newsletter, GinaWatchesThings.substack.com, and I am on most social media under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Josh Hollis does our artwork. Go to Revenge Body Memphis at bandcamp.com for this tune and all our remixes. Go to our Patreon for bonus content. We got a TeePublic store. We're on most socials with the exception of Twitter. Fuck that place. And that just about does it. When we come back next month, it's Kill by Kill After Dark for all of February. We're going to get romantic with it and see where that takes us. So all our romantic horror movies are going to be featured. We're going to have some fun guests. We're going to do some very goofy movies. We have strayed very far from the tenets of what this podcast is about, and we don't care. We're going to destroy it and build it back up again. And so for myself and Gina and Scott and Dennis, the body count will continue. Bye-bye, everybody.
Rock and roll all night, party every day.